Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply personal and incredibly powerful framework for healing eczema naturally. We're going to be looking at the exact methodology created by Chiemi Matsumoto. She's someone who completely transformed her own health by uncovering these hidden everyday triggers that were just keeping her skin chronically inflamed. If you've ever felt, completely frustrated by persistent skin issues, this breakdown gives you a really clear, actionable roadmap based on her own journey to healing from the inside out. Let's get right into it.
So what if your skin was actually trying to tell you something? I mean, it's so easy to look at frustrating symptoms, the chronic inflammation, the itching, the rashes, and just view them as this random punishment, right? Or maybe just a surface-level annoyance. But Chiemi's entire method is built on flipping that exact perspective. See, in functional medicine, there's this concept called the gut-skin axis. It's basically the understanding that your skin, which, by the way, is the body's largest organ, acts as kind of an external check engine light for your internal health. If there's chronic inflammation or some kind of imbalance deep down in your digestive system, it usually doesn't just stay there. It circulates systemically, and your skin is practically forced to manifest that internal chaos. What if those awful flare-ups are actually your body's way, its most direct way, of shouting that something much deeper needs your attention?
All right, let's dive into phase 1. Stop guessing, start understanding.
Chiemi had this massive turning point back in late 2018 where she literally said, "I didn't want to keep guessing. I wanted to understand what was actually causing it." Think about the cycle so many of us get trapped in. You get a flare-up, you apply a topical steroid cream or a natural soothing balm, the symptom temporarily fades, and then, boom, it inevitably comes roaring right back a few days later. Chiemi was already using all these natural external products, but her eczema just wouldn't budge. That endless loop, that was actually her ultimate clue. It led to this huge realization that her true triggers were coming from within. Suppressing the symptom with creams was basically just turning off the fire alarm without actually putting out the fire. She realized she had to stop guessing and really start understanding her internal environment.
Which brings us to Section 2, shifting the diet focus.
The very first major move she made to simplify her meals was removing gluten. That meant completely cutting out wheat, rye, and barley. Now, you might be wondering why this is such a critical first step for skin conditions. Well, we have to look at how gluten actually interacts with the gut. Modern wheat has this protein in it called gliadin. When you eat gliadin, it triggers your gut to release another protein called zonulin. Now, zonulin's job is to control the permeability of the tight junctions, basically the microscopic gates between the cells in your digestive lining. But when too much zonulin gets released, those gates open way too wide. This is what people are talking about when they say leaky gut. Suddenly, undigested food particles and toxins just slip right into your bloodstream, which puts your entire immune system on high alert. And for someone prone to eczema, that systemic immune panic shows up right on the skin. By cutting out gluten, she was essentially giving her gut lining the chance to finally seal those gates back up.
Okay, moving into phase 3, the power of mindset.
Because, let's be totally honest here, taking away everyday staple foods, like wheat, is a massive psychological hurdle. It is so easy to feel discouraged when you start restricting how you eat. But instead of dwelling on the restrictions and focusing on what she was losing, Chiemi made this really brilliant, deliberate mindset shift. She focused entirely on what she was gaining. And listen, this isn't just some fluffy, positive thinking stuff. There is actual, hard, physiological science behind this. Your brain doesn't easily tell the difference between a self-imposed restrictive diet and an actual famine. If you're constantly stressing about scarcity and what you can't have, your brain literally perceives it as a threat. It sets off a stress response, flooding your system with cortisol. Cortisol is a highly inflammatory hormone that literally breaks down the skin barrier and slows down wound healing. So stressing about food makes eczema exponentially worse. By consciously framing her new diet around abundance, she was actively calming her nervous system down.
She poured all her energy into the amazing, healing foods she was adding to her plate, embracing whole, natural foods as close to their original form as possible. We're talking fresh vegetables, fruits, legumes, mushrooms, nuts. And for animal products, she prioritized high-quality sources, organic grass-fed meats, pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught fish. And the incredibly cool thing is, every single one of these choices had a specific biological job. Wild-caught fish are just loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, which directly block the production of inflammatory markers in the body. The rich fiber in those veggies and legumes, that acts as a prebiotic, literally feeding the good bacteria in your gut. Those bacteria then churn out short-chain fatty acids, like butyrate, which actually help repair your intestinal wall. Plus, grass-fed meats give you highly absorbable zinc and vital amino acids to rebuild damaged skin tissue. She also went organic whenever she could, just to lighten the toxic load on her liver. It's like building the ultimate internal defense system from scratch.
But here's the best part, and she says it best. It wasn't about being perfect, It was about creating an environment where my body could heal. Seriously, during this early phase, she was actually still eating dairy. She was happily making her own homemade yogurt with grass-fed milk, completely unaware at the time that dairy was messing with her hormones and triggering her skin issues. But that is the absolute beauty of this whole approach. The goal is not strict, stressful perfection from day one. If she had tried to perfectly eliminate every single possible trigger all at once, it would have been totally overwhelming. It's really just about setting up a baseline, a clean, supportive foundation so your body has the bandwidth to actually start doing the heavy lifting of healing.
It really brings to mind that famous philosophy from Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. That idea completely anchored Chiemi's journey. She started treating her everyday meals as active tools for recovery. Food wasn't just calories, and it definitely wasn't a source of stress anymore. It was the literal, biological medicine her body needed to rebuild her compromised skin barrier from the ground up.
Let's look at step 4, listening to your body.
Once she had that cleaner baseline, she entered this really fascinating observation phase. With the constant background noise of processed foods finally gone, she just paid close attention to how her body reacted over time. And the biological timeline here is wild. After just a few days on this simpler diet, she actually noticed her taste buds were changing. She could suddenly taste the true, subtle flavors in natural foods. This happens because the cells on your taste buds regenerate super fast, roughly every 10 to 14 days. When you stop nuking them with hyper-processed, super salty or sugary junk, the new cells that emerge are incredibly sensitive. After about a week, her cravings completely flipped. Instead of junk, she actually craved fresh salads. She had literally grown a new set of taste receptors. And then, crucially, because she was really tuning into this new baseline, she noticed an undeniable pattern. Every time she ate her homemade dairy yogurt, she'd break out around her mouth and chin. Boom! The background noise was gone, and the signal was clear. Dairy was a massive hormone-disrupting trigger for her, and she could finally cut it out.
Her results? She noted, the constant itching was gone. I no longer had open sores or cracked skin. I mean, wow. By just trusting her observations and dropping that newly discovered dairy trigger, her eczema improved dramatically. The sensory relief was immense. Her skin was still in the process of fully healing, sure, but that agonizing 24/7 itch? Gone. The structural integrity of her skin actually came back. Removing that specific trigger was an absolute game changer in her journey.
Which brings us to our final phase, phase 5, beyond the plate. So, this philosophy of observing and listening to your body doesn't just stop at what you eat, it applies directly to your daily physical environment too. At one point, she had this horrible skin flare-up on her hands right after wearing latex gloves. Now, unlike gluten or dairy causing a systemic issue inside the gut, this was contact dermatitis, a localized immune response right on the skin's surface. But she didn't panic, she listened to the signal and adapted. She didn't need a massive internal overhaul for this one, she literally just needed a physical barrier. By simply wearing plain cotton gloves underneath the latex ones, she entirely prevented the flare-up. The exact same core logic she applied to her food worked perfectly for her physical surroundings.
So, what does this all mean for us? It boils down to a universal, actionable strategy that you can start right now. Step 1. Simplify your diet. Remove the major inflammatory suspects and focus on whole, natural foods to give yourself a clean baseline. Step 2. Observe. Watch your body's reactions really closely as your system resets. Track your energy, your cravings, and any localized skin symptoms. And Step 3. Remove potential triggers one by one as you spot them, exactly like she did with the dairy and the latex. It's not about strict restriction, it's an incredibly empowering, methodical process of tuning in instead of tuning out. Our bodies are literally always communicating with us. We just have to learn how to translate the specific language they're using. So, I'm going to leave you with this question. What is your body trying to tell you today? Stop guessing, start paying attention, and you might just find the exact answers you need. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and until next time, keep listening to what your body is telling you.